Hello. Oh. Hi, everyone. We're starting slowly while we're waiting for more people to join. Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for joining us tonight. Usually, Ramadan about spiritual things and meaningful discussions, and this is that type of discussion we're going to have today. Before we proceed to the topic and I properly introduce to you Richard, just wanted to mention a few words about Thai and Thai Dubai. The organization which powered this session, because you can benefit from more sessions of the same organization if you would like to in the future. So TAI is a non-profit global organization, headquartered, and the whole journey started in 1992 in US. And this is now the organization spread its chapters across the globe, and then the UAE organization is represented by Thai Dubai. I would encourage you to follow the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram accounts, and especially subscribe to newsletter. This is how you will find out about the similar events in the future. The whole objective of the organization is to support entrepreneurs across the globe, and we organize a lot of informative sessions, educational sessions, and we have programs to empower entrepreneurs as young as the student level. We have Thai University program. We have a special program to empower women entrepreneurs, which is called Thai Women. Do follow the announcement as well. If your business is founded by female entrepreneurs, you can benefit from that program as well. It will be launched for 2024 shortly. And of course, we have the mentorship program. This is where we link businesses with mentors, and you can get a mentor who will pro bono advise you how to grow your business, give you advice on financial, organizational, structural way of how you can scale up your business. So this type of sessions we organize around every week, every twice a week. So this is where you can also follow the announcements. So coming back to the exciting topic today, I'm sure you actually know more about Richard probably than I do, but still let me properly introduce you. How many have been in Dubai for more than 10 years? Okay, so you probably know about newspaper 7 Days, right? The one which we received in our households on a daily basis. We all read them, and it was very sudden news that newspaper was shutting down. We all thought like, oh my God, how are we gonna find out the latest news in town? And this is where Richard and his team took over the social media accounts at that point. And again, my first thoughts were like how you can make social media work, how it can be still an exciting journey. And now you probably know, Live in Dubai, you follow it on social media, and we get all the latest news across the UAE from following these accounts. I'm also following Smashy, which is more for me business news, and actually Richard will tell you more about variety of the mediums that they launched. The business now present not only in the UAE, they have office in Egypt and Saudi as well, across the country. So this is where a team, I think more than 90 people, you told me. So imagine how big is the team, and they produce lots of content. Think about YouTube, viral videos for Instagram, social media, etc., etc. And this is what we will be discussing today. I think one of the interesting points that we're going to touch as well, how we can create viral video for the business, how you can make it efficient and relevant to your audience, and many other things. So over to you, Richard, and please do note the questions. Following the masterclass, you can ask Richard questions related to your specific business that you might have.
Thanks, Anastasia, for that. Welcome, and good evening, everyone. Ramadan Kareem again. Thank you for turning up this evening. It's an honor for me to be part of a network that was founded here the same year of Dubai Internet City in 2003. And there's so many inspiring companies that have come out of here and also out of the network. I think anyone who started a business knows how important it is to have a network and an ecosystem and people to bounce ideas off as well. So it's the second time I've done something with Thai Dubai. The last time was during the pandemic, and it was on a webinar, but it's great to be able to chat and meet in person. The title of today is Understanding Media and Startups. This is really a media focus because it's interesting. There's a lot of different people in the room. You represent a lot of different companies, a lot of different ideas. And also, it was interesting to see how many people have been here for over 10 years. So, well, probably serial entrepreneurs in the room as well. So, what I'm going to try and do is share modern media, how I view it, and hopefully we have a Q&A session at the end, and hopefully you'll be able to interpret how you view media, social media, whether it's your business, whether it's going to help your startups, or whether it's something for marketing as well. I'm going to go quite fast. I'm going to kind of rush through it a little bit, play a lot of video, and yeah, do feel free to jump in if you see something that stands out, or we'll take questions at the end as well. All right, yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, let's hope all this works well. So yeah, let's look at the trends. So first of all, let's see. Oops. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to play you a video as a fun way of introducing myself, and I'll let the narrator, this journalist in Islington. There's a newspaper in North London, and she was a journalist for that newspaper, and she made this video. Which button do I do?
The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So when Richard Fitzgerald won a year's supply of burritos in a raffle, it also led to an unlikely quest for love for the Shoreditch blogger. After his win was posted on Twitter, he was inundated with requests from women to share his fast food fortune. He saw this as an opportunity to find love. Richard dates a different burrito babe every week, and like a male Carrie Bradshaw, posts all the gory details on his blog.
Burrito is the new foreplay. It is really messy, and but it does seem to work. It's not like a serious meal, so you know both people's guards are let down maybe, and then if the date is really tanking and going really, really bad, the burrito's eaten in 10 minutes, so you can just leave it at that.
Readers of his blog can also vote on their favourite dates. But how do the girls feel about the details going up on the web?
Some of the stuff that he wrote about me on the blog wasn't true. Like some of the things that he said about where I lived and who I was working for. So he clearly wasn't listening very well, which I was a little bit insulted about because I had loads of details about him. You know that you're going to be written about, and that's something that you're happy to do.
Okay, ladies, would you go out on a date with this man?
Because he looks cute. I think I would.
He's okay, I think, yeah.
I think I would, especially if there was a free burrito involved.
So it looks like he doesn't even need the burritos to persuade girls to go out with him. But ladies, if you are interested, or perhaps just hungry, you've only got 15 dates left. This is Caroline James, City News, Chilango.
So now you know what I looked like when I had long hair. What was fascinating about that period is, you can tell stories when you have different ingredients. And I didn't know, I wanted to do a blog. I just moved to London, I didn't really know anyone. And blogging was big, it was before Instagram. It was January 2010 or so. Yeah, literally before Instagram. And blogging was big, it was like doing a podcast today. And that one took off, that got really big. It was covered on BBC, it was double page spread in Metro. Everyone kept asking me out on dates, and it kept going. Like every Wednesday for 3-4 hours for 52 weeks. And Chilango, the guy who owned it, a cool Norwegian Chicago dude, he was delighted because he was using his burritos as marketing. So it was back then we used to talk about earned media. There was barely any ads on social media. It was paid, owned, and earned, but there was a lot of earned media. And that could have really got really big. I just didn't necessarily, you know what? I wanted to be taken seriously as a social media marketer, so I didn't really want to be known as the burrito guy. So I did it for a while, and then when I moved to Dubai, I handed it over to other people to keep going it. And it's interesting, as my career evolved, when I became known as Rich from Love in Dubai, I wanted to run a business and run a modern media company and not be known as a journalist or a creator, So sometimes we get associated with something, but we also try and carve a path of what we want to build our career about. This did help me though. It did help me get another cool job in London, and I met a lot of interesting, fun people as well. So first we need to understand media. Media in the past, there's mediums and there's media. So medium is the medium of which we receive content or information. And then media, I'll talk about what I call media as a lens. So in terms of mediums, like obviously the original medium in a way was something written down in places, right? And then it became print. And if we think back, the printing press, the Gutenberg printing press, I'll go into it, but that was the original way to consume media. And then radio came 100 or so, 20 years ago, and then TV. And then all of those fragmented. So from one newspaper that became hundreds, and then obviously digital media and more TV stations, cable, and all of these things. So it keeps on evolving. Now, in my humble view, we see it as 5 key mediums of, and you can try and understand your daily consumption, your daily diet of media. Where do you consume media? We think of them in 5 areas: streaming, newsletters, podcasts, vertical video, messaging apps. Streaming can be, audio or video. It can be Spotify. It's a medium of where we consume, or it can be Netflix and things like that. Newsletters are the new magazines. If a magazine company launched in the US in the last few years, it's a newsletter. It has a website, has LinkedIn, it has events, things like Axios, Semaphore, Puck. All the big journalists now are going to these titles, and they're getting more traction and more buzz than the Politico in the US is getting more buzz than Washington Post. Even though that really shouldn't happen, but it is because of the medium that they choose. There are 6 million daily subscribers to Morning Brew, a business newsletter built out in New York by 2 students. Way more than consume Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg. So understand that it is about what they put in the medium, but it's also where they're going direct into people's inboxes, not hoping people go on to a www. Because it's changing. Podcasts and shows. Podcasts in the technical world of the internet is an RSS. It's the one last part of the internet that isn't in a walled garden, but actually podcast has to be viewed as shows. If you're promoting a book, you do it on Joe Rogan or Stephen Bartlett, Diver CEO, or if you can get on AV Talks here. You don't do it on Oprah anymore or the Tonight Show, because no one tunes in anymore to appointment TV. It's all on demand. So the podcast show thing is where the attention is. And vertical video, I could say social media, but vertical video is huge, right? TikTok tried to kill Instagram, Reels came back. Everyone's launched a vertical video. Musk is pumping it a lot on X. TikTok, I mentioned TikTok. YouTube added shorts. Not only did they add shorts, but they put it on top, higher up on the app. In some parts of the world, you open the YouTube app and shorts is first, right? So this vertical video, actually the product innovator, the genius who believed in it, first was Evan Spiegel at Snap. He was the one who believed that we would all be on vertical video more than the others. And then messaging apps. I added this one this year because messaging apps are adding a lot more news into the messaging apps. If you open your WhatsApp in the bottom left-hand corner of the icon, that's where all the channels are now. And Telegram is getting really big as well. Their numbers came out this week. So that's how media has been consumed now. Obviously, there's some legacy stuff, but I'm going to have to be blunt about it. Like, print is dead, right? And digital is eating the world, it is taking over, and these are the ways we consume media today. What is a medium? So a medium, that should be medium. Okay. What is that? I just want to show the mediums. Right, there we go. They're the mediums. Okay, what is a lens? Okay, so a lens is basically a way of talking, right? Like it can be editorial, it can be the content, it can be a direction for the content. So of all those mediums, what lives on them? If you go, hey, I'm going to write about news, or I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to do a documentary, I'm going to make a movie. Okay, cool, well, what's your point of view? And what does it look like? So, Love in Dubai, what is it? Name another media, name a TV channel around the world, anyone? NBC, okay, NBC is a good one. Name a magazine that you've heard of before? Vogue. Sorry? Yeah, okay, Vogue's a good one. So cool, so basically, that's the New York Times logo. New York Times was founded in 1850 and around the same time as The Economist. And it was a state newspaper, then it became a national one. They think they're an international one, right? But it's still got the name of the city, right? It's actually a capitalist type newspaper. The editors, like whether it's right or left or whatever, but they talk, it's from New York, so that's always going to be its history and its DNA. Female empowerment, I picked Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's production company. They're a mission-driven modern media company, and all their material, whether it's their book club or whether it's the morning show that they make, this TV show that they've done on Apple TV, everything's about female empowerment, right? So that's a female empowerment lens. There are some in the region. It's basically a cause-related lens, right? When I was in London back then, The Guardian was a bit liberal. Now The Guardian is, you can tell, it's very female empowerment, and rightly so, because that group was underserved in the UK. There wasn't enough articles around female football in the UK and things like that. So the female empowerment can lead into this one, but generally the cause-related media can be set up in that way. I wouldn't just say gender. Gender is one, but I wouldn't say it's the only one. There can be other ones as well. Ethnicity, so you can have media catered towards ethnicity. In the US, in certain parts of the US, people speak a lot of Spanish, so there's Hispanic media catered for that audience, and it can be cultural. It can be R&B music. It can be you can have different ethnicity content as well. Passion can be a lens. So passion point, you can have media around sport, food, things like that. Where people kind of mess up is when they mix them too much, right? If we did Love and Dubai and it did well in English in the city of this mix and what language we speak, and if we did Love and Sport and we did really, really well with articles about Ronaldo and everything like that, our audience would be from the US or wherever. If we did English content, so how could we monetize that? How can we relate to those people? What do they really care about? So you can mix things up too much if you don't know who your audience is. So another way of understanding why any of these are needed at all is if there's people doing a behavior, then there's room for media. So if there's a cohort of people, if there's startup people in Dubai, then there's room for startup. You have to understand what the relationship is. And people are surprised when I say there's 6 million subscribers of a newsletter about tech startups in the US. Why? Because there's 30 million people who trade daily without brokers on the Robinhood app, who buy stocks and shares without brokers and without fees. So 30 million people need, that's a cohort, that's a behavior, so they need information. So Ronaldo goes to Al Nassr in Saudi, right? And the Saudi league suddenly has 100 million followers on Instagram, right? So then there's room for any of these things, there's room based on that interest, right? So you can just ask this question about anything. If there's 70,000 people going to a concert, then there's room in that area to create media around that thing. And people go, oh, people are interested in that, I'll try it. I'll set up a blog, I'll set up a magazine, I'll set up a podcast, or I'll set up a business. And then they'll say, oh, it failed because. But a lot of it is to do with picking the medium and packaging it up and doing it in that way. But if people are interested in something, there's definitely room for media around it. So moving on, what is a narrative? A narrative is a way of telling a story. People often say that journalists should be not biased and they should be impartial. People also say it's very hard not to be. I remember when I studied as part of my degree, I studied the German language. And one of the electives, we did literature and we did cinematography. And we studied a movie called Der Untergang, which is about the downfall of Hitler. And how we studied it was understanding, is this movie biased or is it historically accurate? You know, and you can take that across everything. If we watch a biopic, I watched a biopic recently about Napoleon, is that supposed to be factually accurate? Or is it inherently going to be a little bit biased? And of course, there's always a bit of bias in things. You know, this is the Daily Mail. They have their own agenda. They have their own bias, and a lot of that is actually dangerous because, for many reasons, because it incites hate and many things like that. Can news be news without a lens? So, can news be news without a lens? Yes, but it's not really going to have a dedicated readership and an audience. It's not going to be consistent. Like we can write an article, we could put something up, but you need that consistency. You need that lens. Whether it's one of those things I talked about, like the Daily Mail is a British tabloid. It's actually the original tabloid in about 1906, and it serves a purpose in that market still. It actually represents a lot of the what the populist media is, populist sentiment in the country. And that's what a good editor does. If they have a populist title, they play to the crowd, whether it's someone on the radio or something like that. So it's really hard for, especially media today, it's very hard to survive if you don't have a lens and a purpose. Whether you have a podcast or whatever, it's very hard to survive because media is so fragmented and so hard to have cut through and noise on it. What can you actually say? So, what can you actually say? So basically, a lot of what the Western world and what journalists think you can say is linked to a constitution for one country of 200 and something countries that was written in 1976, like 200 years after the printing press. And that is the First Amendment, and that is freedom of speech. Most media journalists think that that's what they can say, but actually that's more to do with constitution and law. It's not actually to do with media. And media in this part of the world is really, really new. And relatively, I'll give some numbers, but so when we understand media in this world, we understand the constitution and it related to faith, related to Islam, related to the Prophet, peace be upon him. And we also understand that it's related to the leadership, and we also understand it's related to our neighbour or anyone who owns a business, that we shouldn't harm their chance to have a living. And when we understand media in this part of the world, it actually becomes a much healthier environment. There's less hate speech, there's less attacking people, there's less phone hacking, there's lots of things. And this can be debated at length by many journalists, and many journalists will. But it actually, once you understand that, then you can start understanding where media is going in this part of the world as well. So media is linked to laws and regulations, as I mentioned. The Ottoman Empire actually banned the printing press. So the Gutenberg printing press was about in the 15th century. And the first printing press in Egypt was in 1820. I took that photo last August in the Alexandria Bibliothèque. That was the first printing press in Egypt. And the first print came out, a gazette at the time, right? The first printing press in Riyadh came in 1953. The first media law came in about 1972, and they're rewriting it now. The second ever media law in Saudi, they're rewriting it now. And the reason why that media law is interesting is because in 1975, Asharq al-Aswad was the first newspaper in Saudi Arabia. I remember the date, 1975, because it's exactly 200 years after Times UK launched. Imagine, 200 years. 200 years. So Times UK was 1975. New York Times was 1850, 75 years. And when we launched Love in Cairo, people would say to me, hey, but Cairo Scene was there 10 years before me. I was like, it doesn't matter, right? If you can make a newspaper, like if you think of history, that 75 years doesn't matter. Why does 10? If you dial out a bit. So 1975 was Arab News and Asharq al-Aswad in Saudi. But they're obviously communicating and stories dates way back, right? Ancient Egypt and lots of different forms of storytelling dates way back in other parts of the region, like in Morocco. And other storytelling is an amazing part of society. But media as a business, as a form and a function and a commentary, is really, really new. So yeah, that was that one that I was talking about. 200 years, imagine. And so we're really, really new. And then digital. And then people say, oh, can you do, how were you the first foreign-owned media company in Saudi Arabia? Can you do they not block it there? Well, no, they don't. Like, they don't block it. Like, so, but they did. The equivalent was the printing press, and you weren't allowed to print a book. and you are allowed to have a blog. So media is allowed, it's just understanding it, you know? So crafting narratives in modern media. Yeah, so basically, like, a lot of what we do on Love and Dubai, and a lot of storytelling now, in all the different forms, is about how you package it, right? Like, you know, if you have a newsletter, how Axios coined the term smart brevity, and it's about giving, you know, and OpenAI and ChatGPT is really good at condensing things down. We get emojis, we get bullet points, we get newsletter, you know, we get all this information. Other people are really good now at doing, and I'll show some of the videos, at doing episode drops once a week, a new podcast, and then they have to do that really cool hook video, you know, that sort of lets you know there's a new episode, and they cut the bits and then they stop. Like, all these are new techniques now. And I love it because if you listen to Chris Fade on Virgin Radio, right, and you listen to how he plays the crowd or whatever, that's 100 years of RJs, of DJs, perfecting technique. The techniques that they have now that our ears are accustomed to are that brilliant chat show hosts in the US that they know how to, Oprah knows how to play the crowd or whatever. They're all techniques that are happening now on social media in different ways, that we're all copying the good ones that we see, you know? So a lot of it is crafting narratives in this way. Like when we see the influencers do different things, there's a thing called, I wish I had the right word for it, but it's basically like experience, right? So when the influencer starts talking, they're like putting makeup on, but they're not talking about putting the makeup on, but you're hooked in because you think something's happening and you need to watch, right? These are all techniques, they're all tricks, and it literally happens in different media. Remember when you had a magazine that you had to read every week, and you had to go to the section where that bit was? Like, I still go and read, like, what I did at the weekend or lunch with the FT. These are all formats and tricks and things that can be replicated in the podcast that we listen to, and the bit that you hear, the voice that you're familiar with, you know? So media, all these images are Midjourney, by the way, are all done on Midjourney, which is Discord, right? All AI. So basically, media is fragmented. You know, I put in a prompt to sort of see what would a doctor's, a GP kind of lab look like. Wrong word. Anyway, so these are all the newspapers on top of each other. There's a radio station, there's a TV, there's magazines, and people are saying now, oh, there's too many podcasts, or there's too many blogs, or there's too many Instagram accounts. Well, there's also too many newspapers, etc. But you can still be relevant if you create the right ones, and you go back to the point about the lens and know who you're talking to. Let's see if this works. This is a TV ad by a newspaper company. I'll play it first. You kind of have to know the Three Little Pig. What would we call it? A fairy tale? Does everyone know the Three Little Pigs? Okay, you kind of have to know that one, but yeah, that's
This isn't one. The three little pigs are the victims. There are two houses. We've got one of them. Bullying someone alive hardly constitutes reasonable force. Yeah, protect yourself in your own car.
Someone tried to blow my house down, I'll do the same.
I knew. There's no way you could blow down those houses. He had asthma.
We've never had asthma. So what's the truth about the pigs' houses being blown down? Inside job.
There's no reason why those two houses, one made from straw, the other from wood, should have collapsed. Not even a healthy cold stuff and puff could bring them down.
The three little pigs have confessed to conspiring to commit insurance fraud, framing the wolf in an attempt to cover their tracks. Their motive was financial, as they struggled to keep up with their mortgage repayments.
Guilty. Those guys were the things.
I know my payments too.
How could this have happened?
Lost everything.
Clever, right? It's really clever. If you know, like, yeah, some of the lines in there is really good. And it's also a nice TV ad. The Guardian is saying that they can understand the whole picture. They realize that tweets are part of the story now. It's not just the journalists. You know, look at Capegate, what's all over our social media at the moment, and we go on BBC and it's like a media blackout. Like there's just nothing about the story, but we're all hooked on it because it's all over our TikTok feeds. It's everywhere. So that's basically media now. It's all over the place. But actually, the media brands or the companies still play a role. They haven't been fully disrupted. Like Elon Musk and people think that they have, that they're dead, but they're not actually. Like I was fascinated to see like TMZ release a video of the Capegate thing, and like they shouldn't be relevant. Like Love in Dubai shouldn't be relevant, but it still is because journalists still have a function. You know, what they study in journalism school, I didn't study journalism, my sister did, and she kind of leads that editorial on Love in Dubai. But they study the ethics of journalism, how to tell a story, you know, and a phrase I always like to remember is like shed light on information that doesn't exist. So if you're doing an interview, ask the questions to get information, not to hold people to account, not to do the role of the law, but just to bring information out as a commentary to tell a story. So I think media will always have a brand and a role, and even more so when there's 100 podcasts or podcast creators, they're never going to talk about the thing that someone said on another podcast. So a journalist needs to be listening and needs to write about the thing that entrepreneur said on that podcast. You know, and this is media now. That's what journalism is. Before it was going box pops on the street. Now it's looking at people's Instagram stories and figuring it out that way. So there actually is a status quo to media now, like text, audio, and video. That's modern media. We don't have a simple word for it. I wish we did. I wish it was simple as print, TV, or radio, but we don't. Like we call it new media or modern media. Digital doesn't do it justice enough. But there is a new element, and it's all driven by this because we have text, audio, and video in this, and that's how we consume. So a modern media company really should be able to do all three. The Guardian actually resisted doing video. They still do text. But they were made like 150 years ago. If you're made now, that's the equivalent of the printing press. So you have to do all these three things. It makes it harder, but you kind of have to think about them. So the creator economy is huge. The creator economy is influencers. It's everyone's a publisher. There's different types of creators. Sean King started out with Black Lives Matter. It's cause related. He's doing a lot on Gaza at the moment. Motaz Azad is a journalist, a trained journalist in Gaza, and he's in Qatar at the moment. So he got really well known when the genocide happened a few months ago, and he's done a great job at citizen journalism, more so than any title. And if you think about it, like the Washington Post have about 15 journalists in Tel Aviv trying to cover this, yet this style of media, this style of content on the ground is actually more relatable and tells the real story and shows people trust it more so than they do the sort of propaganda type narratives that they might pick up from legacy media. North Stars is Iraqi American, and she's got the biggest Arab YouTube channel. Not really beauty, like all different types of things, like a really big YouTuber. Nora and Khalid are new kind of pop-up type content creators. Mr. Beast is the biggest YouTube channel in the world, but it goes up all the time, but I'm just going to say 260 million followers. He started out making one-person videos. He's only 25, his name's Jimmy Donaldson. He's worth billions, he makes lots of money. And he has about 300 or 400 people working for him. Each YouTube video that he drops now costs around $2.5 million to make the video. He just signed a deal with Amazon Prime that the whole 10-episode thing is going to cost $100 million. So he's moving off YouTube, where he was brilliant at editing, and now he wants to prove that he's a brilliant storyteller for the attention economy on streaming. We're going to see this trend more, as streaming services need to keep people on, as Netflix get jealous of TikTok and podcasters, they're going to pay more creators instead of making original TV shows, and they're going to fill their streaming services with more creators, and creators are the new media companies. They 100% are. I know they're our biggest threat, but every creator now, like even Anas Bukash, AB Talks in Dubai, he used to have a talent management company. Now he has 20 people making his episode once a week. It is the show of the region, whether we like it or not, but like it will get the most attention and the most views of any interview. If the nationals sit down and interview someone appearing on AB Talks will get more traction. In English and Arabic, the distribution is there, it's on Netflix, it's on airlines, it's everywhere. So yeah. Okay, so when journalists start off, when they come in, say from Hamad bin Rashid School of Journalism in AUD, and when they come into Augustus Media, I know that they're really good at, I know that they're really good at writing. I know they're really good at creation, not curation. But what they need to learn is the discovery part, how to package something up, how to curate, and how to distribute. And discovery now is really, you really need to be digital savvy. You need to know how to go onto SnapMap, the red map, and know where the buzz is. You need to know how to set filters up on TweetDeck X Pro. You need to know how to find where things are online. You need to know where to look, as well as Google, but you need to know where to look. And curation, you need to know how to package something. You need to know how to write an article and put the pieces together. Why people will say, oh, but is that original content? You know why it's so important? Because when we take out our phone, algorithms give us a piece of a story, but they don't tell us the full picture. When I mentioned Capegate, every one of you thought of a different image. Okay, some of them we've all seen, but what the opinion that you've seen, or if I mention, I know we use the trigger word related to Gaza, but we all have seen different things. Whereas when it was one form of media, when it's Ramadan at the moment, there was a time at this time in the evening that 90 million people across 22 Arabic-speaking countries were watching the same thing. That's not a lie, and that's not that long ago. That's late 90s, right? There were no mobile phones. It was NBC One, and the 30-episode show. The whole region watched it. Whole region, 90 million. Not even like in the UK, England in the World Cup final, only 20 million. 90 million people. There are only 15 million subscribers of streaming services in the whole region right now, right? Netflix have about 2 or 3 million. 90 million people used to watch the same Arab actors at the same time across countries. And so now that's different. So when all these different stories are happening, how do we piece it together and curate it for someone? And then how do we distribute it? Text, audio, and video, and then watch channels. So yeah, all the different tools that you need to tell different stories. Just giving you a few more examples of the things, just to repeat kind of some of the points I'm trying to make. Business Insider. What I love about Business Insider, it's owned by Axel Springer, and people said that they only did curated, they didn't do original. But the size of their article, the size of their text, right? Because it's designed for the mobile. Another thing is when you scroll down, there are no paragraphs. It's all sentences. And the other thing is like when journalists come in and they say, man dies on the street. I'm like, cool, are you writing a headline for a newspaper to catch people walking by the aisle to pick the newspaper? Because that's not how we behave on our phone. It should be 25-year-old falls and slips in a banana, drops his phone, spills a Starbucks, and everyone laughed. And by the, like that's the bit that catches you. So that's the headline today. And you have to fill out the sentences. And the traditional journalists don't get that. But you have to do that, and you have to do it big because our eyes on our phone. This is a newsletter. Financial Times bought Endpoints News, which is a health tech a newsletter in the US that got about 300,000 or 400,000 subscribers, and they're like, that's where people are consuming health news. They're not flicking to the section 16 pages in of the FT, or they're not going to the tab on the website that says health, as people still at Gulf News think that that's how people consume media. They don't consume media like that. So yeah, and then carousel posts. So this style, that's in Lab Bible. The carousel swipe thing here. These are all different formats that evolve over time that get all the attention. Threads, So Threads app, but also a thread is a tool, it's a technique on X, on Twitter. So you can write the different things like that. And then the different style of tweets that you can do as well. So you have to be quite savvy in all this, and we're not perfect at it. I see sometimes people on X, on Lovin Dubai, we put 4 images up, and you can't see the full image, so it's just a waste. It's not pretty in a feed. It doesn't work. It doesn't cut through. It's pointless. But they're just ticking a box. They're not publishing natively. They're just throwing things out in place. Here are a few brand collaborations. I always get this guy's name wrong. KSI from Sideman in the UK, a group of content creators, and that's Logan, Jake, one of those guys, one of the boxers. So they launched Prime. Prime's doing really well. It's in the shops here. This is Fabrizio Romano. He used to work for Sky Italia. He's now the biggest journalist in Italy, biggest journalist in the world, and he does Transfer Deadline Day with Heineken. Anis Bagash I mentioned. Nestle sponsor him. How are you really doing? These catchphrases and things like that. I'll send this deck afterwards. There's some stats that shows vertical video. Video is huge in the region. We say text, audio, and video, but visual content in Dubai with different nationalities. It's just if you're doing one thing, get vertical video right. It's where you get most traction. And here's some vertical videos. These are all going to play at the same time. I'll talk through them.
This guy stands in the middle of traffic in Mumbai every Sunday morning. Why? I like the name. I am in Adara. 8 years ago, the Adara son was riding his bike when he hit a pothole in the road and got into a terrible accident. He did not break his arm. He lost his life. The next day, the government filled that pothole, but the Dara wanted to make sure that nobody dies from a pothole ever again. So he started to fill them himself. He filled pothole after pothole until he filled more than 1,500 of them. And guys, nobody pays him for this. This father lost his son, and now he is determined to save the lives of many other sons. That's what we need. See you tomorrow.
So Nusayr Yassin's Nastedi, he actually started 60-second videos, but the technique is really good. He's a very talented content creator. How he communicates really slow, how he does the text overlay video, how it's all scripted, and how he puts the person in the video. It's very effective, it's very good form, and it hasn't passed yet. These two are two different ones. Both are branded content. This is something we actually did, a CGI video, if you saw the crescent and the Tang Arabia last Ramadan. And this is the World Cup. I love this one because the World Cup was in Qatar, yet this video asset on the 20th of December 2022, this was the global asset that went viral at like 10, 11 p.m. on that Saturday, Sunday night. Why? Because CGI was just getting big. What is CGI? Special effects. It's animated on top of a real-world solution. So Adidas, there's just so much backstory to this, but basically Dubai Tourism signed an MOU with Adidas to create many things in it, including Adidas DXB. The Rabi shoe came out of that, and this came out of it, and a few other things came out of it. So how did this happen is basically they shot the frame, they had the asset ready to go, but they could only use it if Mbappe didn't score that goal and if Argentina didn't win. So they made all these assets, and they can only release it if the team wins. And they released it and it went really big. Why as well is it really important? Because Dubai wanted to benefit from the World Cup, but they couldn't. Like Nike wanted to hijack a World Cup 15, 20 years ago, so they make the best TV ad, but they don't mention World Cup with Ronaldo going through the airport and all those things. So Dubai actually won the World Cup in terms of tourism. All the venues were busy here. There was way more people visiting Dubai than Qatar in the World Cup. And it was because of smart things like this. They got the share of voice. So that was hugely viral. The CGI stuff hasn't run out. it's still everywhere. Like June are doing things in Alula at the moment to promote their movie. The CGI format works. It goes back to those videos, and the best ones are when you shoot the content on the street first, and then you do the special effects afterwards. There's about 5 or 6 companies in Dubai that are doing really well at the CGI. They charge $15,000, $20,000. That was about $30,000, $40,000, plus about $1 million media spent to get this sort of global. So audio content, I mentioned some of these things before. Most shows, the biggest podcast in Saudi Arabia, it's in English. Biggest English podcast in Saudi Arabia. Fitzgerald is the biggest Arabic one. Current Cultures was a podcast network. So podcast networks wanted to do Gimlet Media, Serial in the US. They wanted to do scripted content, but it hasn't worked as well. More natural chat show stuff has worked better, so they no longer exist. Joe Rogan, still the top 2 podcasts in the world alongside The Daily from New York Times. That's one of our shows, Smashy Business. We do a daily podcast show. That's Sorry, our CEO. So Stephen Bartlett interviews people in the UK, and if you see how he pushes his cuts on the videos, I hope I have an example. It's really, really good. So there was scripted shows, series, analysts, and interviews. Interviews are doing really well, but also like analyst shows are actually doing better. A group of friends talking about things after something happens, after the news breaks. I think there's so much room more for that to grow. Like if you go to GITEX and there's 100,000 people in GITEX, why doesn't 3 or 4 people sit down for 40 minutes and talk about it? So we can all then the next day, when we're driving in the traffic, to understand it. I don't think all media does a good enough job at that sort of stuff. So how did we do this? We started with Love Dubai. We then decided that it was a city brand. We call it horizontal. Dubai is the horizontal, so food, tech, utility, traffic, fires, all the things the memes go up about, community stories, like all those things live under Dubai. And then the same with Love in Beirut, same with Love in Riyadh, same with Love in Cairo. We have at least 1 journalist in 11 countries with 22 cities. And then we thought loving is loving your life. That's the lens. It's local news and lifestyle, but the lens is like love and life, YOLO. You wake up in the morning, there's a meme instead of a motivational quote. That's the brand, right? Smashy is for the driven, the dreamers, the doers, believing that there's a young cohort in the region who want economic prosperity. Most people who've given in this room, in my mind, fit that. I want that brand to be the MTV of this mindset in this region over the next 10, 20, 30 years. I want that brand to tell the unicorn stories and to tell the startup stories. And we've done Smashy Business, Smashy Sports, Smashy Entertainment. Saudi has never won a gold medal in the Olympics. They will win a gold medal in the Olympics. Inshallah this summer in Paris, but they don't have many people that we think will win, but they will. Who's going to tell that story? Well, the Most show, he will. He'll interview that person 3-4 months later. Who's going to break the news? Does it fit under Love in Saudi? Yes. How do we do it under Smashy Sports? How do we do it in an emotive, modern media, text, audio, and video way? And that's what I'm trying to crack. Odium is our content studio, so it's our white label thing that we do in Production City as well. So these are the different types of things that can happen on Love in Dubai. That's the newsletter. It's so fun working on Love in Dubai. You guys in the community send us loads of videos all the time, and lots of things crop up each year at different times. But yeah, it's real sort of community type content. So this is going to be an attack on the assets again. Everything's going to play really fast. So brace yourselves. I said attacking assets, I meant attacking the senses. But yeah, alright. This is how we do our TikToks in Cairo. So text presenter is called P2C, piece to camera. This is a carousel post. Big images, big text. This is a branded content piece for Homes Are Us. And this also looks like a branded content takeover at a kid's place. Clients pay us for these. They're paying us a few $1,000s for these, and we guarantee the views. We'll do the production, and we'll get 150,000 views for them as well. And the reason why they do it is because people swipe by other ads, but they like ads that it's why influencers do so well. They like ads that communicate to them, right? So creator-led content actually works in a way to get a message across as well. So all different styles. This was 20,000 people showed up for the launch of a brand in residence in Maidan. This is a viral video that Dubai police actually sent us and asked us to amplify. And this is just a sale content does really well. Look at the size of it, look at the punchy text, right? If you're really aesthetically precious and you think that a 16:9 needs to work, you're just missing all this. You're just missing all the engagement. That one was used by a global case study by Samsung. It was a paid-for, planned piece, and it was the most viral piece of content that happened when Ed Sheeran was in Dubai. Got like 23,000 likes in like 2 hours or so. But they knew what they were doing. Like, it shows the guy, they pay a creator, he makes a video, and they plant it on Love in Dubai at the right time when 40,000 people are in their cars going to the Seven Stadium. And it just went super viral. Everyone could relate to it. People decide whether Android or iOS or Android is better. You know, this is again carousel packaging, storytelling. You know, this is the equivalent of what I was saying about designing for the mobile and how to kind of communicate stories. This is how we do the morning show. So we used to do a live show every morning from 2018 when Facebook used to give juice and lots of traction for lives. And the team still kind of, it's taken a while to get them to understand that we're no longer producing a live, we're actually producing a podcast and a show. So the 40 minutes that we do in the morning goes out on 2 different podcast feeds that get cut all over our TikTok, an article goes up, and people can consume it on demand at any time they want throughout the day. So this is basically our radio station. It's just an on-demand podcast. It's a daily show, and it's got 2 hosts, and then an influencer or guest comes in every morning. Friends of mine are like, Rich, buy an old radio license, you get more traction. I'm like, no, because we have to believe in digital. We have to continue to embrace this on-demand stuff.
Does it get you on a, like,
This is the Mo show,
women and their involvement? I mean,
but they mention us, so I'm going to play.
It never gets old. I get emotional every time I walk out the door of my home here. I get emotional every time I pick up my phone and there's this 2, I guess they're blogs maybe that I follow, Love in Saudi and About Her. Every time I see what they post about women, it blows my mind. It's unbelievable, you know? It's cool.
and in such a short period of time.
So yeah, so what's cool about that, obviously it's an endorsement that Princess Rima bin Bandar Al Saud follows Love in Dubai, Love in Saudi. Like for us, that's quite cool. But what's also cool is that we know we're doing something right because we're telling the stories that are important to young people in Saudi right now, which is female empowerment. We're understanding the lens, we're understanding populist media, and we're delivering it in a way so we know it's working. You know, we're doing it with Saudi national journalists in Riyadh, in Arabic, Love in Saudi bil Arabi, and then Love in Riyadh is in English and things like that. Why I picked Love in Baghdad over all the other Love-ins, it's probably the least page views, it's probably the smallest audience. We haven't cracked it at all, but I just know we will. I know we will because I was struck by it. We launched it last summer. I was struck by a headline that said the New York Times bureau chief is fired and they're pulling out of Baghdad because there's no reason to do content over there. Why? Because there's no war or something. And this just shocked me. Like, this showed why the New York Times isn't international. So we hired a guy called Badr, underground in Baghdad, and he goes around and makes these videos. And he shows the culture and he shows what's actually relevant to people on the ground there. So you don't have to believe that there isn't ways to tell stories in certain places. There is. I'm not sure that this is going to work. Well, I just said I was sure, but let's see. All right. So Smashy looks like this. Again, loads of things are going to happen. Smashy Gaming. Me and Curse of Social Media is the biggest Arabic Snapchat show. 20 million unique views per month, 6 million top stock views. It basically does trending stuff that influencers do in Saudi. And yeah, different types of content formats. Oh yeah, this is the original host. Simple, nothing, but they love it. And like that's actually in our office in Riyadh, right? And he sees an influencer make a video. He then repeats that in a silly way and does it 2 4-minute episodes a week, and it just works. He's really talented though, really unique creator. So yeah, that's about it. I'm going to play a video to kind of show the overall Augustus stuff now. Yeah, let me just play this for this, and then we'll do Q&A. Gonna get busy, out for a win, and it's making us dizzy. Around and out, vision. So make sure we go to the top. We're out and out. Everybody wanna come, turn it up, come into the volcano, make it jump, free in the wild with a magic touch. Set it on, we run so high. Come on for the ride, gonna not still stop. It's gonna be a good time, we run so high. Come on for the ride, gonna not still stop. It's gonna be a good time. أهلا ومرحبا بكم في برنامج سماشي سبوت. I'm looking for stories. Everybody wanna come, turn it up, come into the volcano, make it jump, free in the wild with a magic touch. Set it on, we run so high. Cool. Yeah. So I think I went to 7, and I know we need to do 15 minutes Q&A. So I'm not sure how we're going to do this. If you want to go, but if you want to get in touch, anyone who wants the deck, ping me here. This will open either WhatsApp or email. So I'll leave that up for a few minutes. And anything you want to talk about that we don't have time for Q&A, reach me there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, I feel I need 20 years to master all of this. So my first question to you, and then I pass the mic to the audience, would be like, you want to do the proper one. I want the audience to ask questions. So that's, I want to ask you the key question. What would be your advice? Where should we start with all of this? Because there are many businesses here, entrepreneurs, and someone working for the companies. So any tips and advice how the story can start with the creating the content and how to publish it?
You know, if you're not a media company, I wouldn't say to start too much of it, because digital, the internet is like a hungry beast. It will keep eating and eating. You have to feed it all the time. You have to post all the time. You have to make loads of videos. So my best advice is, if you're doing this, then do it as a business. Then treat it seriously, treat it as a media company. Know that you want to become a content creator who has a podcast, and do it that way. Build it organically or raise money or whatever, but like treat it as a business. If you're a different startup, then understand that that's where media is today, and that's how, you know, I see Rahul in the audience who's a PR professional. People like in PR will understand how to get this across, you know. But if you're a startup, like on Augustus Media, I don't publish on Augustus Media, but I want a Wikipedia page because I want it to be treated as seriously as Vox Media in New York. So I need articles. So I need to pitch to Bloomberg to get articles, and it's hard, right? So we have to understand these things. Like at the moment, the signal points on the internet are still old school. They still need links, but the consumption is new school or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the response. I also wanted to ask many people also wondering at what point shall we stop shall we start posting by ourselves? At what point shall we engage the freelancers? And at what point they should come to the media platforms like yours? So what would be your advice?
All to do with budgets and time. Like, I think the first video I put up was the 52 burrito dates. I was doing that every Wednesday. I had a job. It was easy for me to do because I was dating girls anyway. So, but if like what are your assets? Like, if you drive to work in the car every day, like maybe that's your marketing. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Like if you go, oh, I have to set aside a time to make a podcast. I have to go research the guest. I have to book the Podster studio for 400 dirham an hour. I have to edit it and I have to drop it a week and I have to do the content. You're never going to keep that up in your busy job, right? Some people do, but like it's really, really hard to. The easiest thing to do is to find a way that you naturally behave anyway, right? So yeah, basically what you naturally do. What are your assets? Like, what do you think can work? Like when you asked about freelancers and things like that, is there someone, your partner, your friends, that can video you doing something that will serve the purpose of your business? You know?
Yeah, that's a good one. Also, question: a lot of videos that you produce target to B2C. How many of you guys are operating in B2B environment? Because this is two different spaces. So, any tips for you, if I can challenge you with this? If we're talking about the B2B space, would be the approach different for creating this type of content?
I think personal brands work well in B2B. The way that LinkedIn is, the way that B2B is very. You know, I'm not an expert in sales, but B2B is a lot about your network. A lot of referrals come through people you know. So personal branding is good for B2B. But similar rules apply. Similar formats still work. You know, and messaging still works like that. Like, but yeah, like, and you know, how do we get? Okay, so how do we get B2B inbound? We do good consumer media, and people DM us and ask us to do the same because they see other brands advertising. It's like an impulse buy. But then how does Augustus Media get known as a credible media company? We do sort of different types of PR and marketing in the digital world. So I might appear at things like this, or I might be on a podcast, or I might write 10 predictions for media in a year and go to Campaign Middle East. I would do thought leadership pieces. Thought leadership pieces is like personal branding. It can come from an individual, or it can come from a company. You can build a profile of the people in your company through things like this. Going back to the last question, Gary Vaynerchuk is very well known at personal branding and helping people to navigate through TikTok and all these things. I was fortunate enough to spend, it's called the 4Ds, it was like 2 12-hour sessions in Hudson Yards in New York where people paid $15-something thousand to go and listen to his team for 2 days. And when he came in a room like this and when people asked him a question, he had his videographer editing the question he was asked, and by the time we left in the evening, it was on Gary's personal Instagram page. So we were like literally being used for him to do his cuts, right? He used the same questions in the room. It would be like me now, if I was obsessed with personal brand, I'd have someone from my team over there videoing me, and I'd have it on my Instagram tonight. So I would use the question that and I would use you to create my content. You know what I mean? Like I would literally do that.
This is my plans for tonight. So. I also wanted to ask you, very often entrepreneurs, founders of the business, they're like, I hate this stuff. I want to run the business, but I don't want to do social media posting. So a lot of content, like you said, there is a variety of content that you can produce. How often the person should be in the video, right? Can the video without personality go viral? Do all entrepreneurs have to be engaged in the content creation for social?
No, and again, it goes back to, like, if people are introverts, people don't like it, then don't force yourself to do it. Like, social media for us is our business. We monetize from it. But it's not, social media for most other people is marketing. But you don't need to, marketing can be different things depending on what you're selling. So you don't need to, it shouldn't be a vanity project. It shouldn't be about number of likes and followers if that's not converting for you. Some people spend a ton of money making podcasts and video shows, and you kind of go, okay, you've got 50,000 followers. There's a barber shop that are really good in Dubai, and they're amazing. I really like them. And the couple who run it, I got to know them recently. And their Instagram following and TikTok is amazing, but they can never have that. They have 5 seats in the barber shop. and it's only male. So why do they need 2 million views of their TikTok? Why? You know, is it vanity? Is it because they, you know, is it because it like, yeah, but it can't convert. But first of all, half of them are females, so they're not even, you know what I mean? So you have to know opportunity cost, you have to know how much time they're putting in. But if it's part of Oscar, the guy, if it's part of him, his daily routine that he's just good with his phone, then it's easy. If he's not paying a digital agency 50,000 dirhams a month to come in and to cut, then I don't mind it. And that's what they do. So it becomes part of how they do their day. His dad visited from Egypt, and they did an ASMR video of the dad with the cut and shit like that. That was amazing. It probably took him 10 minutes. Someone else, you might need a production company to spend $20,000 on it. But I don't think we need to obsess over vanity metrics, you know? And the other little thing is, like, sometimes, again, going back to the breeder dates and their assets, sometimes your comms alone can go viral. We had a sort of an acquisition attempt on us last summer, and it backfired a little bit. And to own the narrative, I publicly released the internal email I sent because it was spun against us, and I put it out on my 20,000 followers on LinkedIn and on Twitter, and I got picked up globally, and 3 or 4 local Arab titles told the story of us nearly being acquired, and it turned into another offer from an Abu Dhabi company. Just because I own the narrative, and I basically used an internal email as a screenshot as the post. So I didn't brief an agency. I literally, you literally use your own comms, you know? So yeah.
No, that's interesting. I also wanted to ask, how many of you new to Dubai? I don't know, a few years only, UAE. Why I'm asking, I wanted to ask the question. You're very confident, right? You're talking like we're in 22 cities. We just launched in Riyadh, and we going viral in Egypt, etc., etc. But it's not as easy for many to enter the new market. Any tips and advice for people who might be expanding business to other countries, Emirates, on this type of, you know, confidence, how they can master the social media with the same confidence that you have?
Okay, I should be humble because I shouldn't come across as that confident, because we're not that successful. In most markets, we're losing revenue. In publishing, it's different to the service industry or having a client on day one. You need to build an audience. So we have to understand what's the investment, what's the payoff, and what's the market opportunity. Market entry in any industry is really, really hard. Like if you're franchising a business or whatever, and especially if it's a passion or a people person, usually it needs the person to move to that market and to crack the ingredients and to put that passion and effort into it. Again, going back to Gary Vaynerchuk, I said the same question to him because he always talks about being in the weeds, you know, being in the trenches and hands-on and doing stuff. I'm like, Gary, how can you do that? How can you get your wine business going if you know that the only way to get something going is to give it 88 hours a day? He says, I move the goalposts. So I know that for example, if I'm going to grow Love in Cairo or Love in Riyadh, I know the fastest way for me to grow it is for me to be on the ground there. I don't even need the language. I know how to clickbait. I'm confident in how I can stir up a storm and deal with the pressure. Like, I know I can do that, but I don't want the opportunity cost of leaving the Dubai business behind. So I moved the dial of the time that I'm going to be successful in Riyadh and Cairo and Doha. And I move it from 18 months to 2 or 3 years. And then I don't put pressure on the investment in that time there. So for everyone else, it's different. Market entry is different, but it goes back to our mission is to become the modern media company of choice in the Middle East and North Africa. It's like a risk board. We have a map in our office. 11 of the 22 countries are blue. That's where we are. And we're going to do it with digital, our own brand IP, those brands I shared, and in that region. And we have 40, 50 years to do it. And I make those rules.
Wow, I love this. So it's about confidence. It's about trying things, right? So I just wanted to, I love the energy, right? It's been more than an hour Richard is talking, but you can feel, right, that he's so passionate about the topic. And I think this is something we should pick up from here. We shouldn't be afraid of trying things. But I wanted to ask any questions from the audience. So this is, yeah. What you have?
Hello. I wanted to ask if there is no something called bad publicity. Like, is it true that there is no bad publicity?
Rahul, what do you think? Look, I think no, there's no such thing as bad publicity. That says the PR expert. I think you can get cancelled, but I think cancelled can can dial down. You know, I think how you react to it. A lot of people over the years would panic by the comments on Love in Dubai. And I see it all the time. Big corporates, seasoned PR, comms people bringing up, going, you need to change the wording. Someone in the senior management has screenshotted something and they're freaking out. And I just stay calm, because I know in 2 or 3 days it's going to pass. And I know that they're spending their energy in the wrong area. They should be putting out a statement. They should be understanding, is this a reflection? The thing that caused the stir, is there something wrong with them inherently in how they operate as a business? So there's things like that, but of course there's reputations can be ruined overnight. Of course there can be impact, but I think we have to put things in perspective. Like there's cases at the moment where people are being cancelled on social media. Like we talked about, I Love in Dubai, we talked about a restaurant and on Smashy Business this week. And in the heat of it, if you read those comments on Love in Dubai, on Craving Palestine, and on Smashy Business about Wallet in the Moon and Come to Our 102, you would think that this business will not survive. And I remember being in Qatar in the World Cups with a round table with marketers, and at the time, Balenciaga were being cancelled globally, right? They were being cancelled globally. And I felt, from what I was reading on social media, I felt that this is the worst I'd ever seen. And I felt there's no one ever going to walk a street in Dubai wearing Balenciaga ever again, because the pressure was so intense. It was like dead babies and whatever, like it was just so intense. And a year or two later, it's gone, it's over. You know, like, sure, their sales might have dropped in that quarter, but like, so you have to put things in perspective.
So you mean the magnitude of the bad publicity affected? You mean, like, for example, I remember, Elon Musk in his Cybertruck, when he threw a rock on the glass and it broke, and then he said, we will fix it. That's the day I knew about the Cybertruck.
Do you know what? The Cybertruck is going to be, like, tonight was the first sighting of Cybertruck in Dubai. They're all over San Francisco. Like, you're right. Elon Musk, he didn't mean to, he was trying to prove that it couldn't crack, you're right, and it cracked. And so he doesn't care. Elon Musk is a brilliant example of if it doesn't ship, it doesn't exist. Whereas in brand marketing, anyone who works with any automotive brands, they're all pedantic, like Daimler, Mercedes, BMW, Infiniti. They won't release a flash website or microsite or a model of a car unless it's absolutely perfect. Whereas Elon Musk released half-working websites because he's always in beta. He's always halfway through it. You know, he just flips this stuff on his head. He's quite unique, though. But yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, I'll stand up. I'm at the back. Hi, I'm Sharon. So I've launched a podcast platform. You literally explained my everyday, working full-time, going to Podstar, recording, etc. Trying not to get hung up on metrics is a point that you mentioned. So it's still quite new. Let's talk DXB. But I think one of the things in transitioning to monetizing, and I've kind of held back because I'm like, I don't have 1 million followers, etc. But it would just be good in regards to that more. Yeah, okay. It would be good to get some insight in regards to the more organic following and the transition there, and then at the right point of monetizing and trying to capture the audience that wouldn't really be looking at 22 million followers, for example.
Yeah, well done, Sharon. I think I've seen that Stock DXP.
I was on your show, so yeah, thank you.
I think you're already coming through a little bit. Problem with podcasting right now is that there isn't, the market doesn't know how to give you money. Right, so someone's going to teach the market how to give you money. So my advice would be start selling from day one. Know what your rate card is, know what your media kit is, know whether you're charging CPM or know whether you're charging as a value as a host read. So if you go, hey, this is my audience, I'm going to guarantee that even if it's 100 people that listen to 40 minutes, right, I'm going to try and tell a story to a marketer, and I'm going to give you, for the first year, I'm going to give it all to you for X $100 or something like that. And then that's a host read. And then the second piece is the programmatic. So you need the right audio ad tech, whether it's Next Broadcast, AdWiz, Acast, or any of these ad tech, and you have to follow the trends of where the money is going in audio. And then try and do what other people do, which is some people have, the podcast platforms are helping of that premium. So in your 40-minute episode, record for another 20, and put that on the bonus episode once every few weeks. Get a WhatsApp group going, build up a community, and cross-sell them. At every 10 episodes, do a live event. This was free tonight. Charge people 50 dirham to come in, and then launch some merch. And just try and bucket off all those things, and then you'll get somewhere.
Hi, Richard.
Just to beat us, like.
Hi. Hi, thank you for amazing session. My name is Rameshwari. I have two questions for you, actually. It's very basic questions. First one is, what do you advise to someone who wants to start in media but is camera shy? And second one is, what do you advise someone who wants to start a career again, but like, what do you, from your side, as expert as you are, like, what are the basic things required, like in terms of tools or in terms of any first or few steps that they need to take?
Yeah. So the second one, starting a career again, do you mean in media? Or
Yes, in media.
Yeah. Look, the first question is camera shy. I think they're life skills. Like you mentioned, I was confident. When I had that hair in London, right, I actually wasn't, I was taken off at clients because I wasn't confident enough. I was senior account manager at 27, and I would stand up like this and muddle my words in front of 20 marketers, Lloyds Banking Group in London. And I went to a network like Toastmasters, right? And I was vulnerable, and I tried to learn how to talk, you know? So I think they're life skills. The camera shy thing shouldn't be, hey, I need vanity metrics, I need to be big on TikTok. I think they're good life skills that can help. Communicating works in every part of life, in relationships and everything. So don't overcome the camera skills just to get more TikToks. Like, try and overcome the camera shy thing because for confidence in general. And then in media, I think you have to ask someone. If someone in the room has changed career, I think it's quite admirable to change career mid-thing. But learning is amazing. So if you're going to make one bet, go into AI. Understand what's happening with AI media now, because you can pass that to other people and you can add value to organizations. So there's lots of AI software, and if you come to a company in an interview and you tell them that you're going to help them produce more work, cost effective, because you understand. There's about 5 or 6 free AI courses. There's one on LinkedIn. It takes about 10 hours. Do that. Post it on LinkedIn. You know, so AI generative media is a really good way to kind of catch up with everyone else, because we're all at the same page.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Hi, Alexa, best singer-songwriter. I have a question. Do you have any advice how to make a song viral?
Songwriter, interesting skills, yeah. Just a question for you. Do you think that AI is going to put you out of a job?
No, it's very helpful, by the way, but I don't think it can take full job. No, I don't think so.
It's 2 weeks to April Fools, and our idea this year is, I won't give it all away, but our idea is evolves around Taylor Swift and an anthem for Dubai and AI, and we can't actually crack it right now. So I agree with you. I don't think AI is there yet. How to make a song viral. Oh yeah, okay, so answer how to make a song viral. Do you know the record labels, right, like Sony and all these guys? They were dead 10, 12 years ago. Now 95% of their revenue comes from streaming services, right? People are saying like Taylor Swift, they don't make much money on kickbacks or whatever. Like the CDs, you know those graphs that show how artists make money? 95%, the record labels are booming. Like Sony Music, the share price is really high versus 10 years ago. Like music industry has changed. When I sat with the guys who run those companies, they told me that the way to make a song go viral is the first 3 days of the algorithm of when it drops, the song drops, the algorithm on TikTok and Reels. So when we open our story and we go to pick a story, the algorithm serves up the most popular songs, and it tells us how many reels it's been added to. So all their marketing is in the first 3 days. Music marketing has changed. It's no longer billboards, it's no longer release an album and a video. No one spends money on video. They basically try and get influencers to attach that song in the first 3 days. And I've seen it happen. Like Sony pay us every month $2,000 to do a video, and they tell us go into a restaurant and use the new Styles song. Remember that one, what was the viral one about a year and a half ago? I'm really bad at lyrics, but like, it proved to me that their tactics work. So it's literally 3 days, and you have to get into the Reels and the TikTok, because that's where you're making 95% of your revenue.
Okay, cool, thanks.
I wanted to say one more question. How many? Two quick ones. And we're going to wrap up.
Yeah. Hello, Richard. Thanks so much for very insightful lecture and questions. My name is Ola Naida. I'm a co-founder in Local, just in one of 5 startups. And I'm really curious about your monetizing system in Love in Dubai. Because as you said, start think about money from the first day. So when you launched Love in Dubai, you start selling from the first day. How did you grow this? Whether B2B contracts or it was selling B2C somehow. So how did you grow all your empire of Lavin to 22 cities?
Yeah, it was really hard. I was very naive. I worked in media agencies and I was making projections that I would make $500,000 in the first year, and I didn't make any money. None of my ex-colleagues spent anything, even though we had the audience. A year later, we realized that we have different types of customers. It was all branded content. It was all this native unit, and it was sponsored articles. But I was finding it hard to get people to buy it and the right price point. So I went to restaurants and I gave them cheaper than they pay PR agencies and guaranteed what they like to call as coverage. And I gave them packages. So and then that moved to video, that moved to Instagram, that moved everywhere. And how we did it is, say if you hire a videographer, this is a good videographer in the room, say if you hire a videographer, you might pay them 20,000 dirhams to cover your event. And then it's up to you to post that. We would charge them 12 and we would guarantee them 100,000 views on Love in Dubai. So we would sell the content and the media buy, the audience together for half the price, so undercut it. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When other people see other brands do it, they feel they need it. When people see Love in Dubai at the opening of a restaurant, they feel they need it. And word of mouth, and you just get a really good client service team, and you just deliver exactly what you're going to say all the time, and trust that. And look, I wish it was simple. I wish we were getting programmatic display revenue. I wish our subscription platform worked. I wish I knew at the start of a month I had recurring revenue. We don't. We start from scratch every month, but our system is designed around it. We did $10 million gross revenue last year, and we know how to do it. But every day I'm still trying to, all those things that we talked about in the podcast, I'm trying to figure that all out. I'm trying to get CTV advertising. The next big spend in media is called retail media. I could talk about that, but there's billions of dollars going there, and I'm trying to figure that out. You know, where's the pockets of money? I sat with the head of training for Publicis Media Group, who has 400 digital planners across the region, all the biggest brands, Abu Dhabi Tourism, you know, like Starcom, you know, all these Zenith, all these groups. And I asked him, of your spend, maybe he handles $1 billion of spend a year, his group. How much of that is going to CTV or podcasts? And he didn't even give me hope that it's 1%. He said everything's on social. So I would go back and I would say, how many people I'm going to hire to make the podcast? There's no money going there, but it won't come from him. You need to lead it, right? Like when TikTok came to the market and got over $100 million in their first year, or Snapchat, they hired the best salespeople and the best product. So you could do that, but most of us don't have money to pay 100,000 dirhams a month to hire someone with 15 years experience at Facebook to sell our Let's Talk DXB, right? So we have to do it organically.
Let's see. So if I can ask you, we need to wrap up the official part, but if you can, for the last question, officially here, and then I suggest we all stop Richard behind the scenes.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Miriam. I'm a co-founder of We Are Tech. We do electronic waste management. We are part of N5. My question is, how much of your success you think comes from hard work and all those hours that you spend creating content, building strategy, thinking, planning, doing stuff, and then the other part where you were just in the right place at the right time, you met the right person, and or said the right thing, and things just happened. I mean, do you believe you would reach where you are if there wasn't that bit of luck that maybe happened, and if there was that specific moment that you could remember that led to your success? That would be great to hear. Thank you.
I'll try and finish. I know some people are hungry, but sorry. But yeah, look, I think success is relative, right? Like, we're relatively successful in modern media in this region. Like, I won't say we're not or we're not, but success is relative. When you were asked a question, I was saying, oh, it's all hard work, right? Like, for me, it's about the 10 years that I did in 7 agencies, building up that experience, and then being ready to set something up at 32, like having stress, anxiety nights before, will I set up an agency, so all that compounding, the hours, like in 5 Tech, we were in Astra Labs, the writing on the wall, like the codes on people's shirts here tonight, the tagline there was "Make it happen." The guy serving coffee has something motivational quote like that. I was there with a laptop for 18 hours, however many hours, every weekend, doing clickbait content with typos riddled all over the place, just to chase articles. And so the hard work is there. However, it wouldn't be possible if, going back to Thai Dubai setting up in 2003, it wouldn't be possible without Dubai. It wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be possible without the vision of the people who set up this. So you're right, it's right place, right time. Like, sometimes we decide where the right place is, right time, but there's no way it would have been possible without the economics of the city. How are Lovin Dubai doing well now? Because all the bloody restaurants are making so much money. There was a restaurant group that sat down with me on a podcast, and he told me they made $50 million last year at like 40% operating margin. $50 million from food. Like, from restaurants. Like 5 times bigger than us, and we get all the attention. So that's why we're doing well.
Thank you.
Give us enough that money.
I think this is the perfect question to actually wrap up the official part of the evening. We choose words of you in just that moment, right, which can turn the life for us. And I want to really thank you for this evening. Very inspirational speech. I would say this could be that day that everything will turn. That would be the lucky moment for all of us, because we're all hardworking, and this is the magic moment that can turn for all the things for us. So thank you so much for sharing industry tips, personal experience. I'm sure more people will gonna chase you now for more comments. I would love to thank you all as well for staying late, but you can feel, right, that some nice tips and energy being shared tonight. So thank you so much, Rita.